Islam Makhachev's decision to decline a title defense at UFC 324 in January 2026 was rooted in a philosophy that values preparation over impulse and longevity over short-term momentum. To casual fans, it seemed like hesitation, but within elite EMA circles, it was understood as professionalism, championship responsibility, and respect for the process that builds sustained dominance. Makhachev and his team recognize that defending a title is not about availability, but about arriving at peak condition with no compromises. Coming off a welterweight title win at UFC 322 in November 2025, Makhachev had pushed his body through one of the hardest challenges in modern EMA. Moving up in weight demands not only strength and endurance, but also adaptation to heavier pressure and damage, leaving both visible and invisible fatigue. Even in victory, the recovery window after such a fight is long, and rushing it risks injury decline and shortened prime years. The suggestion of a January 2026 defense allowed barely enough time for healing, let alone rebuilding a full championship training camp. Elite fighters operate within narrow margins, where 1 week camp can expose timing, conditioning, and confidence. Makhachev's camp understood that championships are defended in the gym long before fight night arrives. This decision also reflected lessons learned from past champions who paid the price for rushed returns. History shows that many great fighters lost belts not to better opponents, but to compromised preparation and accumulated wear. By stepping back, Makhachev demonstrated maturity and awareness rarely appreciated in the moment. Declining the defense did not signal fear or avoidance but strategic patience. True dominance is measured across years, not months, and preserving the body preserves the belt. In choosing long-term control over short-term spectacle, Makhachev reinforced why he remains one of the most disciplined champions in the sport. UFC 324 was considered too soon because the modern UFC schedule often prioritizes momentum over medical reality. While quick turnarounds help promotion and hype, they frequently ignore the physical cost paid by champions. Makhachev's camp has long understood that rushed defenses often end careers faster than losses. A November to January turnaround leaves little room for true recovery at the championship level. Even without visible injuries, the body absorbs microtrauma to joints, ligaments, muscles, and the nervous system. For grappling heavy fighters like Makhachev, hips, knees, and lower back carry cumulative stress that cannot be rushed away. Elite recovery is not passive rest, but active rehabilitation and recalibration. Timing, reflexes, and balance must return to peak levels before hard sparring even begins. Skipping this phase increases injury risk and reduces long-term performance stability. From a competitive standpoint, a short camp limits technical evolution. Makhachev's dominance has always come from preparation, not improvisation. Every fight requires opponent-specific drilling, positional refinement, and tactical layering. A compressed camp forces shortcuts in strategy and repetition. This weakens execution even if conditioning appears intact. At the elite level, small gaps are quickly punished. History offers many examples of champions damaged by rushed defenses. Fighters often lose belts, not because they were solved, but because they were depleted. Makhachev's team has studied these patterns carefully. Declining UFC 324 was therefore not avoidance or hesitation. It was a decision rooted in preservation of form, health, and championship standards. True champions defend belts when conditions allow excellence, not survival. Makhachev no longer fights to prove legitimacy. He fights to protect a level of performance built over years of discipline. By stepping away from UFC 324, he chose longevity over short-term applause. This decision reinforces why his reign has been marked by control, consistency, and clarity. Championship responsibility includes knowing when not to fight. UFC 324 was too soon because greatness demands patience. The importance of a full training camp cannot be separated from Islam Makhachev's identity as a fighter. Unlike athletes who depend on instinct or chaos, Makhachev's success is built on structure, timing, and repeatable systems. His grappling dominance relies on precision, pressure, and control, qualities that quickly erode without deliberate preparation. A complete training camp allows conditioning to be built layer by layer rather than rushed all at once. This gradual process protects joints, muscles, and connective tissue from overload and injury. For a fighter who imposes constant physical pressure, durability is as important as strength. Full camps also allow Makhachev's coaches to study opponents in depth and design specific solutions. Wrestling entries, cage positioning, and submission chains are adjusted to exploit small weaknesses. Without time, strategy becomes generic and generic plans fail at championship level. Technical refinement is another critical benefit of extended preparation. Small flaws in foot placement, balance, or timing can be corrected rather than hidden by toughness. This attention to detail is what separates long-reigning champions from short-lived title holders. At welterweight, the margin for error becomes even smaller. Larger opponents bring greater physical resistance, heavier clinch pressure, and more damaging strikes. A full camp allows Makhachev to adapt strength, positioning, and defense to this increased threat. Conditioning at higher weight classes is not just about endurance, but control under fatigue. Maintaining pressure against bigger bodies requires refined breathing, pacing, and grip management. These elements can only be built through time, not urgency. Without a full camp, even elite fighters become reactive instead of proactive. Their game shifts from imposing systems to surviving moments. For a champion like Makhachev, this is an unacceptable downgrade. His insistence on complete camps reflects long-term thinking rather than short-term ambition. Titles are not defended by bravery alone, but by preparation and clarity. Entering the cage fully ready ensures that dominance remains the standard, not the exception. This philosophy explains why Makhachev avoids rushed appearances. He understands that greatness is preserved through patience, discipline, and respect for the process. A full training camp is not a luxury for him. It is the foundation of his control. Ramadan and competitive scheduling play a critical role in Islam Makhachev's approach to his 2026 fight timeline. For Muslim athletes, Ramadan is not a minor adjustment, but a complete restructuring of daily life involving fasting, prayer, and reflection. At the championship level, this spiritual commitment directly impacts training, recovery, and energy management. Fasting from dawn to sunset limits hydration timing and calorie intake during peak training hours. For high-output athletes, this affects muscle recovery, nervous system response, and overall endurance. While some fighters choose to compete during Ramadan, doing so requires major compromises in preparation. Makhachev has consistently avoided these compromises throughout his career. He has historically scheduled fights either before Ramadan or after it concludes. This approach ensures that faith and performance support each other rather than collide. Training during Ramadan is possible, but championship-level preparation demands optimal conditions. Hard sparring, intense grappling, and strength work are significantly harder without proper hydration windows. Pushing through these limitations increases injury risk and reduces training quality. Choosing to return after Ramadan reflects discipline, not convenience. It demonstrates long-term thinking and respect for both athletic standards and personal beliefs. This balance has been a defining trait of Makhachev's career management. Targeting April or June 2026 provides a natural reset point. It allows Makhachev to complete Ramadan fully while maintaining physical integrity. Mental clarity often improves when spiritual obligations are honored rather than rushed. This scheduling also aligns with rebuilding a full training camp from the ground up. Post-Ramadan preparation allows gradual conditioning, technical refinement, and opponent-specific planning. Nothing is forced, and nothing is skipped. For a champion operating at the highest level, timing matters as much as talent. Greatness is not only about when you fight, but when you choose not to. Makhachev's respect for Ramadan reinforces his identity as a disciplined and intentional champion. Rather than weakening his legacy, this approach strengthens it. It shows that control extends beyond the cage into life decisions. An elite EMA alignment between mind, body, and belief often defines lasting dominance. Why April to June is the ideal window? The April to June window offers several strategic advantages. Physically, it allows sufficient recovery time from the November title win. Mentally, it creates distance from the pressure of immediate defense. Strategically, it aligns with major UFC pay-per-view events, ensuring maximum visibility and promotional impact. This window also allows Makhachev to fully assess the welterweight landscape. Contenders evolve rapidly, injuries shift rankings, and narrative clarity emerges over time. Rather than rushing into a matchup based on temporary hype, Makhachev can choose an opponent who represents genuine legacy value. From the UFC's perspective, a mid-year return allows for better event planning and marketing. Makhachev's fights are not fillers, they are tentpole events, giving them proper build-up benefits, both the organization and the sport. Welterweight challenges and opportunities represent a defining phase in Islam Makhachev's career. Moving into this division introduces a new physical reality where opponents are stronger, harder to move, and more resistant to sustained pressure. Every takedown, clinch, exchange, and scramble demands higher energy output and sharper execution. At welterweight, mistakes are punished more severely. Larger fighters absorb strikes better and generate greater force in counters and clinches. This raises the cost of technical errors and demands tighter positional discipline. Grappling exchanges also change at this weight. Controlling hips, posture, and balance against heavier frames requires refined leverage rather than raw force. Makhachev's style must remain precise to avoid unnecessary strain and fatigue. However, welterweight is not without strategic advantages. The overall pace is often slower, and exchanges are more measured than at lightweight. This environment can favor fighters who excel in control patience and system-based pressure. Many welterweights rely more on strength than speed. This can create openings for a tactician who understands timing angles and positional traps. Makhachev's ability to dictate where fights take place becomes even more valuable here. With proper preparation, his grappling can neutralize size differences. Pressure does not need to be explosive to be effective. Consistent control can still drain energy and confidence from larger opponents. A welterweight title defense in 2026 would test more than skill. It would test adaptability, conditioning, and long-term strategic thinking. Success would prove that his systems scale beyond one division. Winning and defending at welterweight would expand his legacy significantly. It would place him in discussions beyond divisional greatness. Few fighters master control across weight classes. This transition represents risk, but also rare opportunity. Makhachev's career has always been defined by calculated steps, not impulsive leaps. Approached correctly, welterweight could become his most meaningful chapter yet. Contender versus champion matchups will shape the narrative of Islam Makhachev's next phase. A younger, undefeated challenger brings hunger, momentum, and the pressure of expectation. These matchups test whether experience, discipline, and control can neutralize raw ambition. Youth versus mastery carries strong narrative appeal. It challenges a champion to prove that dominance can survive generational change. For Makhachev, these fights are about reaffirming system over impulse. Veteran challengers present a different type of danger. They bring durability, tactical awareness, and comfort under pressure. Defeating an established name adds historical weight, but demands flawless execution. Experienced opponents are harder to overwhelm psychologically. They understand pacing, adversity, and championship moments. This forces the champion to rely on structure rather than surprise. Makhachev's camp is unlikely to choose convenience over significance. At this stage, every defense must reinforce credibility and legacy. Meaningful challenges matter more than frequent appearances. Why patience strengthens his legacy becomes clearer in this context. Activity is often confused with greatness in combat sports. History, however, favors champions who protected timing and longevity. Overexposure leads to physical decline and strategic erosion. Rush defenses often cost fighters their prime years. Patience preserves form, confidence, and career arc. Declining UFC 324 sent a quiet but powerful message. It showed belief in preparation rather than fear of inactivity. Champions who trust themselves wait for optimal conditions. True legacy is built through quality, not quantity. Makhachev's restraint reflects control beyond the cage. In choosing patience, he strengthens, not weakens, his place in history. This approach aligns Makhachev with some of the longest reigning champions in MMA history. Dominance is not about how often you fight. It is about how consistently you perform at your best. Fan and analyst reaction to Makhachev's decision revealed a divide in perspective. Some fans initially expressed frustration, viewing the delay as missed excitement. Others immediately recognized the logic behind prioritizing preparation over speed. Analysts were largely supportive from the beginning. They highlighted the risks of short-notice title defenses and compromised training camps. Most agreed the decision aligned with elite-level career management. As more context became clear, criticism began to fade. Fans understood that longevity at the championship level requires restraint. The narrative shifted from avoidance to professionalism. This response reflects a broader evolution in MO fandom. Audiences are becoming more educated about recovery cycles and preparation demands. Modern fans increasingly value sustainability over constant activity. From a promotional standpoint, the UFC sees Makhachev as a dependable champion. His consistency, discipline, and dominance make him a stable anchor for major events. While January offered short-term content, a later return offers stronger long-term value. Fully prepared champions produce higher-quality main events. They reduce the risk of injury pullouts and underwhelming performances. This stability benefits both the promotion and the division. The UFC historically thrives with champions who control their schedules intelligently. Makhachev fits this model precisely. His approach ensures fewer disruptions and clearer promotional planning. Declining a short-notice fight also preserves a psychological edge. Challengers are forced to wait, speculate, and adjust. Uncertainty favors the champion, not the pursuer. Opponents cannot capitalize on partial preparation or rushed conditions. They must face Makhachev at full readiness. This reinforces dominance before the cage door even closes. Makhachev's calm response strengthens his image. He appears confident without arrogance, disciplined without hesitation. Control of timing mirrors control in competition. What Makhachev's 2026 return represents goes beyond a simple fight announcement. It is not driven by urgency or external pressure, but by precision and intent. This return reflects a champion who understands timing as deeply as technique. Choosing sustainability over spectacle defines this phase of his career. Every appearance is planned to protect performance, health, and legacy. Nothing is rushed and nothing is accidental. Whether the return comes as a welterweight title defense or a high-level contender matchup, the meaning remains the same. The goal is not activity but impact. Each fight must reinforce dominance rather than test survival. This mindset marks a transition from rising contender to mature champion. Makhachev no longer needs to prove readiness through frequency. His presence alone carries authority. His approach mirrors a broader evolution among elite fighters. Primes are now managed, not spent. Longevity has become a competitive advantage. Instead of chasing volume, modern champions chase excellence. They select moments where preparation meets opportunity. Makhachev's 2026 return represents this philosophy clearly. It signals confidence in his systems and patience in his planning. True dominance is measured by control over both opponent and calendar. This return will be deliberate, meaningful, and defining. Conclusion: Islam Makhachev declining a title defense at UFC 324 was not a setback. It was a strategic decision rooted in preparation, recovery, faith, and long-term vision. Targeting a return after Ramadan in April, May, or June 2026 allows him to compete at full capacity rather than compromise readiness. This decision strengthens rather than weakens his championship reign. It signals confidence, discipline, and respect for the craft. When Makhachev returns in 2026, he will not be rushing to defend a belt. He will be returning to continue building one of the most calculated and dominant legacies in modern MAO.